Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, witnesses and the House's investigation into President Trump's dealings with Ukraine are revealing more troubling evidence. We sit down for an exclusive interview with White House correspondent Peter Baker to understand how this testimony will affect the administration. And in Chile, protests are turning more violent in Chile as citizens demand improvements to healthcare, education, and more. We'll explain why these protests are occurring and why they're unlikely to stop.
And in your backyard, local elections are quickly approaching and races are getting interesting. We go live with Liza Moore to hear about how candidates are making themselves heard. Next, a Rockbridge family is breaking into the hemp market. Reporter Coleman Martinson takes us inside their greenhouse to learn just how profitable this industry can be. And later, with Halloween right around the corner, local families are getting into the spooky spirit. All that and more coming up next on the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news from Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Good afternoon. I'm Gigi Lancaster.
And I'm Crawford Humphreys. In the wake of impeachment hearings on Tuesday, Republican Lindsey Graham today condemned U.S. diplomat Bill Taylor's testimony and the impeachment inquiry process as a whole. Take a listen.
Are you okay with what came out in the Bill Taylor testimony that the president apparently had directed the military aid to be withheld in exchange for a public declaration of investigations that could help him politically?
Did he talk to the president?
He talked to Ambassador Sondland, who talked to the president.
Oh, that's hearsay. So here's what I can't.
You don't think he's trustworthy?
No, here's what I can't get over. If Rudy Giuliani had a 15-page statement saying he did nothing wrong, wouldn't you want to know more? Would you accept that statement? I've got nothing against Bill Taylor. It's the process. You're asking me, do I believe something based on a statement that hasn't been tested?
Impeachment inquiry hearings have halted until Saturday as the House and Senate honor late Maryland Representative Elijah Cummings, who passed away last week. The last person to testify yesterday was Lisa Cooper of the Defense Department. Her testimony was delayed several hours when Republican House members, mostly people not a part of these hearings, interrupted the closed-door hearing to protest the secretive nature of those hearings. Some hearings in both the Nixon and Clinton investigations were also held behind closed doors. Peter Baker, chief White House correspondent for the New York Times, said this impeachment inquiry is different from the Bill Clinton impeachment in 1998 and 1999. Baker said that the Ukraine issue hasn't yet been investigated by a special prosecutor.
Now the story is actually just coming out in real time, and the House itself is doing the investigation. That's different. That means that we're still, in 1998, when the House took it up, we knew the set of facts. The question was what you did with those facts. The question was, what did they add up to? Were they impeachable? Were they important? Did he lie? Here we're learning new facts every day because witnesses are going in for the first time telling their stories, and they're doing it behind closed doors, which the Republicans have complained about, but we're also getting at least some sense of what they're saying from the people who were in the room.
Baker also addressed the president's hostility towards the press, but did acknowledge that every president has had conflicts with reporters.
But he has been much more overtly hostile. He has been much more overtly condemning of even the very idea of the press in a way that we haven't seen before. This idea of enemy of the people is a Soviet phrase, a Stalinist phrase. The idea that reporters would be called traitors or other things like that is different. It's a different kind of environment.
Baker was in Lexington today to speak at Washington and Lee University.
After a week of unrest, Chile is bracing for more protests in the days ahead and has just extended the curfew in the capital for a fifth day. Thousands hit the streets, including teachers and healthcare workers, as part of a two-day strike. Protesters are angry over the country's growing inequality. That's despite the Chilean president's new plans for a guaranteed minimum wage and a pension hike. We're learning the violence has claimed more lives. Authorities now say the death toll has risen to 18. One of the victims was a 4-year-old child who was run over when a vehicle rammed into protesters. Dario Klein has more from Chile.
Started today as a peaceful demonstration of workers, students, thousands of people, more than 200,000 according to the authorities in Chile. Then when tried to arrive toward the presidential palace, La Moneda, started violence. The people wanted to go to La Moneda, and the military police did stop them with a lot of violence, with the pepper spray, with water. They threw it to everywhere. The people responded with throwing stones. And now this is the main street of Chile, the Alameda, and this is a lot of people, but all the shops are closed. There are barricades everywhere. The military police there, they move the people. They didn't let people to protest anymore. And this is, we can say, it's a battle that had been going on during the whole day here in Chile, a battle that nobody expected a week ago when President Piñera said this was an oasis in Latin America. Obviously, this is not an oasis right now. Looks more like a jungle, and Chileans are protesting, asking President to resign, some of them, and asking another people to make very important changes. They said the announcement that President Piñera made last night are not enough. They say there are 30 years of inequality, and they want to change that right now. Go back to you.
This morning, organizers announced that protests would continue despite the Chilean president's decision to freeze electricity prices.
Well, less than 2 weeks until Election Day here in Virginia, and candidates are appearing in forums, answering questions from voters about issues important to them. The Rockbridge Report's Liza Moore is in Buena Vista ahead of one such forum for City Council and the other races there. Liza?
Where a candidates forum is going to begin in less than an hour. Candidates expected to attend include Buena Vista's City Council, Buena Vista's Commonwealth's Attorney, and the Virginia Senate and House of Delegates. It's pretty quiet out here on the sidewalk, but the forum is going to begin in like an hour, so candidates still have some time to get here. We're expecting a big audience, but not many people are here yet. Back to Crawford and Gigi in the studio.
The residents of Buena Vista have their eye on the competitive race for Commonwealth's Attorney. Two candidates who recently moved to Buena Vista are vying to become the city's Commonwealth's Attorney. Daniel Mowry is challenging the interim incumbent Josh Elrod. Mowry is an attorney in Stanton and counsel for the local Social Services Department. He moved to Buena Vista so he would fulfill the residency requirement to run for office. Elrod was a city attorney in Lexington and moved to Buena Vista when he was appointed interim Commonwealth's Attorney. The Commonwealth's Attorney is responsible for police training and helping victims cope with the consequences of crime. Also, 4 candidates are vying for 3 spots on Buena Vista City Council, while Mayor Bill Fitzgerald is running unopposed. Steve Ballridge, Lisa Clark, and Stanley Coffey all seek re-election, while Cheryl Hickman hopes to unseat one of them. All candidates cite revenue generation and economic development as their primary concern, considering the city's ongoing loss of manufacturing jobs and a reluctance to raise property taxes.
Top U.S. officials, including Special Envoy for Syria James Jeffrey and U.S. Defense Secretary Mark Esper, have accused the Syrian rebels not only of being extremists and former ISIS and al-Qaeda members, but also being guilty of war crimes. Jeffrey and Esper claim Turkey may have been in so much of a rush to create this militia to fight for it, it failed to vet the militia for extremists. Some of the content you are about to see is graphic. CNN senior international correspondent Nick Payton-Walsh reports.
The gruesome videos keep coming, but not just the normal brutality of war, something uglier, more radical. Scenes of the Syrian rebels Turkey is backing, abusing here the corpse of dead Syrian, Kurdish female and male fighters Tuesday near Tal Abyad. Rebel leaders said they had arrested and would punish the fighters behind this. A US official has said these fighters, backed by Turkey, are mostly extremist, former ISIS and al-Qaeda. And from the start, they were accused of savagery. This is the widely circulated video of the murder of Kurdish activist Havrin Khalaf, her bodyguards beaten before execution. We found their vehicle heavily shot up and discarded on the highway. Startling acts of violence like this have made many reassess exactly who Turkey is using to try and execute its goals here in northeastern Syria. An autopsy report CNN can't independently verify says the widely travelled activist was dragged by her hair and beaten with a blunt object on her head before being shot to death. Some of the videos the rebels have posted of themselves add support to the theory that Turkey was in such a hurry to build militia to fight for them, it didn't vet out extremists. It may now be liable for war crimes.
We've seen several incidents which we consider war crimes.
I've seen the reports as well. We're trying to monitor them. They are horrible, and if accurate, and I assume that they are accurate, they would be war crimes, as best as I know the law of land warfare. So I think all those need to be followed up on. I think those responsible should be held accountable. In many cases, it would be the government of Turkey should be held accountable for this, because we cannot allow those things to happen.
Turkey and the rebels have rejected many accusations and often post media of how life has returned to normal under their control. And some of the behaviour here, though, posted on the rebels' own Telegram channels, isn't that distant to ISIS's old videos. Turkey has loyal rebel forces in Idlib province, which Western intelligence has said is now infiltrated by al-Qaeda, but it is unclear which units of rebels Turkey is using. Will these men stop when Turkey tells them to? Will Turkey tell them to? And what sort of society will they build? Will it have a place for or reject ISIS? Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, Erbil, Northern Iraq.
These developments come in the wake of President Trump's decision to remove American military forces from Syria.
Incumbents Wendy Lovell and Neil Whitmore are both running unopposed for re-election for the Rockbridge County School Board. Lovell is running for the Buffalo District seat and Whitmore is running for the Walkers Creek District. No names are on the ballot for the Natural Bridge District, which means the position will be filled by a write-in.
Next on the Rockbridge Report.
When I saw that Virginia had made a path to grow hemp, I just figured, why not?
Find out why Shaner's greenhouse sees hemp as a growing opportunity.
It's a beautiful fall weekend here in Lexington, Virginia, but we could be expecting some showers this weekend. Tune into weather to find out more.
And coming up, as wildfires rage in California, governments have scheduled electrical blackouts to slow the flames. Find out how businesses are taking the outages in stride to serve their customers. Stay with us.
Public safety power shutdowns are in effect in parts of California. It's a move taken to help prevent the possibility of wildfires erupting during unfavorable weather conditions. While some residents are frustrated, others are optimistic. Rachel Wolf reports.
Oh my gosh, this is a huge hassle.
Dennis Thomas owns Robinson's Pharmacy on Main Street in Placerville. He showed us his two generators used to power the computers and refrigerators that house medicine like insulin.
We completely turn our pharmacy upside down to make sure that we're here to meet our customers' needs.
Thomas says he lost $8,000 in insulin during a safety outage last year. As a city councilman, he sees the bigger economic impact downtown.
We lost $20,000 in sales tax revenue this last power outage for 3 days. That was $2 million worth of sales throughout our community here.
Heidi Meyerhofer with the Downtown Association says these outages have been challenging for small businesses who cannot afford a generator.
One art gallery, because of the type of business they have, they can't operate in the dark.
Wednesday, many simply closed up shop early when the power was shut off. Some hoped generators brought in by PG&E to power the downtown area would help them stay open, but only one side of the street benefited. Businesses were glad they had their refrigerator trucks and generators still in place.
At the last minute, we decided let's stay open.
Placerville Public House had power for what they needed. They've learned to look on the bright side. During the last planned outage, they turned Wednesday night karaoke into candlelight karaoke.
Called my karaoke guy and One Leg Chuck, and I said, do you want to do this? And he said, I'm bringing a generator.
It struck such a chord with customers, they wanted it to become a regularly scheduled event, and they didn't have to wait long.
As soon as the power went off, people cheered and rushed in here.
Trying to make light of a situation that has left many in the dark.
You could be upset and mad and disgruntled, but we kind of decided to embrace it.
Pacific Gas and Electric says it hopes to restore power about 48 hours after the weather threat passes. As fires rage in California, the Virginia Department of Forestry lifted Rockbridge County's burn ban yesterday after a heavy rain. The county has been under a ban for nearly 2 weeks due to dry conditions.
Hemp farming is soaring all over the nation, and Rockbridge County is no exception. The cannabis plant has been legal in the state of Virginia for research purposes since 2015. But in March of this year, the State General Assembly amended the law to allow for commercial production of hemp. Rockbridge reporter Coleman Martinson examines this growing trend.
The inside of Shaner's greenhouse on Greenhouse Road looks a little greener than usual right now. Jackson Shaner, a 7th-generation farmer, says he and his brother have been growing hemp since the Commonwealth legalized it in March. His family has operated a greenhouse since 1843 and usually grows tomatoes, flowers, and more.
Just trying to diversify the crop. When I saw that Virginia had made a path to grow hemp, I just figured why not.
Shaner is like many farmers across the state and country who are getting into the hemp business. For the 2018 growing season, before the commercial legalization, there were around 85 industrial hemp growers in the Commonwealth, according to the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. For this growing season, that number is 1,123.
I think there's interest in hemp nationally, and now with Virginia being able to grow for commercial purposes, a lot of farmers are looking to supplement their farm income with industrial hemp.
Hemp is different from marijuana. While the two are both cannabis plants, hemp lacks high amounts of the psychoactive cannabinoid called THC.
Hemp can be used for a variety of reasons, but mainly CBD oil. Some businesses like this one are selling CBD oil in itself or CBD-infused products such as coffee and dog treats.
Shaner sells his hemp to a processor in North Carolina who then makes it into CBD oils for sale. He said the greenhouse would be empty right now if it wasn't for the hemp legalization. Mitchell Shaner, Jackson's father, is a sixth-generation farmer. He said hemp can help the younger generation of farmers survive.
Hopefully it's something that this next generation can grab onto and go with. We'll see. The jury's still out.
In Rockbridge County, Coleman Martinson, Rockbridge Report.
Backyard chickens are now legally permitted in Lexington. The zoning ordinance that cleared the way passed City Council 5-1 last Thursday. Mary Lynn Alexander was the sole person to oppose the change, which has been debated since 2012. The city's Planning and Development Director, Arnie Glazer, said Lexington residents may begin applying for chicken keeping permits as soon as final edits to the ordinance and city code are made. He projects that the city will begin welcoming applications early in the new year.
Well, the fall weather is in full swing here in Lexington as temperatures continue to get chillier.
Yeah, it's been really nice. It's been a lot better since September. Lily, what's it looking like?
It is really, really nice today, but we might be seeing some rain as we move into the weekend. Taking a look at our live shot from BV, we can see that it is a lovely fall afternoon here in Virginia. Right now in Lexington, it is 68 degrees, and this morning we started with a low of 43 degrees, and we are experiencing a wonderful afternoon. The humidity is about 33%, so it is dry right now. But if we take a look at our wind speed, the wind is only 3 miles per hour, so it is a wonderful afternoon to get outside and enjoy the fall weather. If we take a look at our radar right now, there is no precipitation in the area, so you certainly will stay dry if you decide to spend an afternoon outside. Looking at the region as well, we are all in the high 60s, low 70s, so it is a great afternoon here. Covington is our lowest, 67 degrees there, and Charlottesville, it is 70 degrees there, so it is all high 60s, low 70s. As we move into the 5-day radar, we will be expecting to see some showers for this weekend. Tomorrow, some clouds are moving in, and the high will be 70 degrees with a low of 51. And then Saturday and Sunday, showers, expect them in the morning, but be ready for those. 65 degrees will be the high on Saturday, 58 degrees will be the low, and then it's going to shoot up a little bit. 74 degrees is the high for Sunday. And then Monday, the sun is coming back out. The high will be 70 degrees with a low of 52, and Tuesday with a high of 67 degrees. So be expecting those showers for the weekend, but the sun will be coming back out and we'll be back to these wonderful fall temperatures starting next week. That's all I have for the weather. Now back to you guys.
Well, still to come on the Rockbridge Report, an Arlington community decided to give back to their beloved school crossing guard in a big way. That heartwarming story next.
And later,
That's an awesome pumpkin.
Holes Drive-In sponsored a spooky event for local families and children this week. Stay tuned to meet some of the county's cutest trick-or-treaters.
a much-loved school crossing guard in Arlington, Virginia is a super fan of the Washington Nationals. So to thank him for taking such good care of their kids, 60 local parents and students surprised Mr. Jeff with World Series tickets. He's a crossing guard at Nottingham Elementary School, and the community pulled off their surprise outside the school on Wednesday. Mr. Jeff and a guest will be on hand to watch Game 4 of the series on Saturday. The Nationals are already up 2-0 against the Houston Astros so far. That after a stunning rout in Houston Wednesday, nailing a 12-3 victory. Game 3 is Friday night in Washington, D.C. I've been keeping up with baseball, but I heard that there's more going on than just the World Series.
Yeah, Victoria, tell us about the news that's sweeping the league right now.
Yeah, in MLB news, a century after the Black Sox bribery scandal tarnished the World Series, the notion that ball players would take money to throw a game, much less the World Series, is unthinkable. Today's scandals revolve around technology, from teams using Apple Watches or high-definition cameras to steal signs, to rogue data scouts giving bookmakers real-time information from ballparks. The MLB is doing its best to adapt its rulebook to the tech, hoping to keep the sport honest as it failed to do 100 years ago. In NCAA action, following California's lead, Florida lawmakers are taking on NCAA rules that prohibit college athletes from benefiting financially from their prowess in big money sports. With a bounty of premier college sports programs, Florida could help student athletes flex their muscles as they take on the NCAA, which governs college athletics and has long resisted calls to allow student athletes to profit from their collegiate sports careers. College sports, particularly football and basketball, generate billions of dollars in revenue. The NCAA itself gets about $1 billion annually. In local sports, Rockbridge County High School's football team continued their hot streak against Waynesboro High School last week in a blowout 56-16 victory. That victory advances RCHS to 5-2. The Wildcats will take on Broadway High School tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Perry McClure High School fell to Covington High last week in a 47-14 defeat. This loss drags the Fighting Blues down to 1-6. Perry McClure faces off against Bath County tomorrow night. And that's all of our sports news for today. Back to Crawford and Gigi.
We're 1 week away from Halloween, and the Rockbridge area loves to celebrate. The season began on Saturday when Hull's Drive-In Theater hosted its 7th annual Halloween Bash. Children of all ages, including adults, were invited to come in their best costumes. A dachshund even showed up dressed as a hot dog, while its owners were disguised as ketchup and mustard. Children painted pumpkins and collected candy from the decorated cars for trick-or-treating. After prizes were awarded, the event concluded with the movie Maleficent.
We'll talk about a cuteness overload. If you'd like to get involved with the season's events, check out any of the events here. Whether you want to get outdoors, go trick-or-treating, or check out a show, there's something for everyone. To see a full list of Lexington and Buena Vista events, visit the websites below. That's all for the Rockbridge Report. Thank you so much for watching.
You can stay current on the news in the area by logging on to rockbridgereport.wlu.edu. See you next week.